There's a brutal figure. We lost over the last 20 years 30% of our market share of the European industry. So on global market, we lost 30% of the market share, and that's dramatic.
Many of Europe's industrial ecosystems are in crisis. Their competitiveness is at risk, from disrupted supply chains, high energy prices, a lack of critical raw materials, and pressure to make a green transition.
We have to reduce CO2. That makes our industry transform. That is what we need. We need cheap energy. We need cheap hydrogen in order to be able to conduct. But we don't have to overregulate.
The sharp rise in prices amid the war in Ukraine has been the one-two punch for a lot of energy-intensive industries in Europe. Among the hardest hit, fertilizer makers, steel works, and glass factories. Steel-making giant ArcelorMittal shut down mills in France, Spain, Germany, and Poland. Aluminum producer Speda said it will close its German plant in Heinwerk this year. France's Duralex closed its plant in Orléans.
We in the EPP have always been very clear, right? We believe that climate action, the Green Deal, needs to go hand in hand with a very strategic industrial policy. We call it the Green Deal with a business case.
Thus, calls from the EPP Group to take those energy-intensive industries more into account when making the green transition.
This Net Zero Industry Act will, in particular for our clean tech industry, that's very important for our climate and energy transition, speed up procedures. It will allow us to help those kind of sectors that we want to either stay in Europe or come to Europe in order to never again be as dependent on any country as we were in the case of gas on Russia.
That's why competitiveness is high on the list for Sweden's rotating EU presidency now.
Sweden's presidency put competitiveness as the center. It is one of their 4 priorities. And I think, you cannot do everything in 6 months, but this, I hope, will change the agenda for Europe so that we get more competitiveness and that we really start to growing again and creating jobs. We need jobs, jobs, jobs.
That includes stepping up the production of chips, semiconductors.
There will be no competitiveness if we're not secure and protected and if our supply chains are not functioning properly. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that the supply chains are monitored. That's what we do through the CHIPS Act, that there are no shortages. I think we need to think that chips are not just used in ovens and our phones, but they're also used for defense and military purposes.
To stay competitive, some companies are considering relocating to the U.S. with lower energy costs and green subsidies from the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, and taking their jobs with them.
We don't want industry leaving Europe to go to the U.S., and certainly we don't want to get into a subsidy race that, does the opposite, which is make our industry less competitive. So I think what we should do is look at this as an opportunity to review our industrial policy and ensure that our industry is competitive.
Add to that the quest for critical raw materials, putting Europe's industry in a squeeze.
One of the very critical raw materials are rare earth elements. They are needed in permanent magnets, and magnets are important elements in efficient motors, in EV batteries, communication devices. They're very crucial future technologies. So it's very important that we deal with rare earth. For example, a huge deposit has been discovered recently in Sweden. So it's very important that we exploit this domestic potential.
And find new ways to mine rare earth from end-of-life products here in Europe.
Research and innovation are very important with regard to recycling, substitution and product design, because these 3 elements will lower our demand. If we get more back from recycling, if we substitute lithium, for example, in batteries, or if we design our products in a different way that we again can get raw materials back, we will lower our demand. So this is very crucial as a capacity for the future.
In the meantime, the EU needs to strike more trade deals to diversify its supply chains.
We need to do trade defense, of course, especially when we're facing subsidies for industries like aluminium, and we've got 2 plants closing because the Chinese are subsidizing their aluminium plants. When we see trade weaponization, like China with Lithuania, because Lithuania has more relations with Taiwan. But the best defense is offense. So what we really need to do is trade deals. We need to finish up those trade deals. New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, Mercosur.
If you have a 260 million market and you reduce the tariffs by 91%, that will have a huge impact for European businesses, of course. So it's economy of scale, it's market opportunities, and it's also a way of sourcing goods for European businesses from South America. This is very, very important for European competitiveness, I would say.